Now this is the Suzuki XBEE, and could this very well be the next sub 4 meter SUV from Maruti Suzuki, because it looks like a really fun take on what a sub 4 meter SUV can be in India. For example, look at the shape, it's more MPV, boxy-ish. Now the 5-door Jimny is there for reference. It seems quite heavily inspired by that. By the way, that's made in India, right at home. You can buy that here in Japan. But this seems like a Jimny, but something that you can live with a bit easier every day. Now I really like these lighting elements, the way they're done. Has that very typical 60s, 70s key car vibes going, the grille. It also has some form of ADAS, which is good. Front parking sensors, very typically Maruti the way it looks, but also very typically retro. Now under the bonnet, again it's very familiar. It's the same 1.2 3-cylinder Z series that you have in the Swift and the Desire. So we know how amazingly efficient that engine is, and we also know that they're very usable in our conditions at least. So that's what is the engine of this XBEE. By the way, those are the dimensions to give you a quick idea. So fits right into sub 4 meter territory. Now I also like these decals, again somewhat reminiscent of the Jimny. The bonnet itself reminds you a little bit of the Jimny, so that's great. Now as cool and as retro as it is from the outside, it's similarly funky, so to speak, on the inside. As you can see, the interiors are very, very retro themed, but also very modern. If you've seen the new Victoris and many of those modern Maruti Suzuki SUVs, you'll notice a lot of those parts that have been shared. Now, for example, this is very typically Maruti Suzuki. This is the new infotainment setup that you've seen in a lot of the cars, the Fronx, the Jimny, even the new Victoris has a very similar infotainment screen. The steering wheel again feels a straight lift from the Victoris. You have that head-up display everywhere nowadays in Maruti Suzuki cars. I'm sorry about that beeping. I don't know how to turn it off. I guess I'll probably have to turn off the car fully. But you have a digital instrument cluster, very nice, stocks very similar. But there's a lot of that Jimny vibe going on. For example, you have these bottle holders here, rubberized pads. I also like how the material and finishes are done. They're very sturdy and well made. They're not soft paneled, but they give you that impression, and they have that tough, rugged ladder frame SUV kind of feel. But when you look at the center console, it's so practical. Now, the only thing that I think is missing is a wireless charger, but you have this very open arrangement here, this automatic parking brake, powered parking brake, so you have a lot of space. Heated seats, maybe for the Indian market, ventilated seats would be better. You have a sport mode and a snow mode. Now, that is something we don't get in India, and maybe Suzuki or Maruti could start putting those here in our cars. There's also a little bit of an off-road mode and a hill descent control. Now you see that at a lot of places. I like this very funky gear lever. I'm guessing is the Aisin 6-speed torque converter. You have the similar kind of paddles. But just look at the headroom. Here in Japan, people don't have that fascination for sunroofs. Just how amazingly high the headroom is, and just look at the glass area. I mean, now I'll show you the back seat, now this is where this Suzuki XBEE really starts to make sense for India, because just look at the space. I mean, it's sub 4 meter. I don't have the exact wheelbase kind of spec for you, but it has that fully flat entry. So getting in, and the flat floor. So getting in is especially simple. Now, as you can see, I have quite an amazing amount of legroom and space, as you can see. This is almost as close to the Brezza, if I remember correctly. Maybe not as close, but definitely you're in Baleno territory here, which is great. I also have this tray table. It's not the most sturdy, but I guess it will get the job done. You have a center armrest for the front kind of arrangement. Nothing really in the back seat, which some of us will miss in our country. But I can still, if I find a way to do it, as you can see, I can slide and recline, and I have a massive, comfortable sub 4 meter SUV for me. Yes, 3 abreast will be a bit tight, but it doesn't seem like Suzuki even wants this to be a 5-seater. Again, somewhat reminiscent of the Jimny, but yeah, this is what it's like. Now there's also a little bit of that funky retro bug kind of theme in the lighting. Again, very fun, very light-hearted. And now yes, the boot space is not the best, but you do have this under tray kind of space and a lot of compartments. So if you're smart about it, you can actually put a lot of stuff in, and you can, I'm sure, fold these seats fully flat, as you can see. So there is a lot of practicality that can be had. So what do you think? Do you think you would buy the Suzuki XBEE if it were to come to India, say between the Fronx and the Brezza in the Maruti Suzuki lineup? Let us know in the comments.